Every day, over 300 million people are using Instagram stories, the video sequence that disappears 24 hours after being posted. If you have ever thought about using Instagram stories for business, now it's the time. Not only are Instagram stories fun and creative, but they are a great way of growing your engagement, building your brand awareness, driving traffic to your website, and even making some e-commerce sales. So why not create a dynamic looking Instagram story animation in After Effects without using any third-party plugins? I am Nikhil from Dope Motions, and without any further ado, let's get started. Alright, so here we are in After Effects. So let's start new and fresh by creating a fresh new composition, which is gonna be 1080 by 1920. Let's call this main comp, 60 FPS and 10 seconds long. Hit OK. So here we have our composition. Let's duplicate the composition by hitting Ctrl D on the keyboard and call this media_01, where you can drag in your video or footage that you want to use for this Instagram story animation. So I'm gonna just double click to open that up, and I'm gonna use this image that I got from unsplash.com, where you can find some really amazing free copyright free images which you can use for your projects. So I'm gonna just duplicate this, hit Ctrl D to duplicate it, and into the second one I can drag this second image that I have. So hit S to bring down the scale properties and scale this down just a bit. So there we go. Let's drag in the media 1 composition into the main comp, and now we can start building up our main design. So what I'm going to do is, let's actually hide this for now. Hit Ctrl Y on the keyboard to create a new solid, call this PG for background, and hit OK. And for now I'm just going to leave it at black. I'll color that up later on. So let's start building up our shapes. So what we need to do is select the rectangle tool. We don't need any strokes, so I'm going to set this to 0. For the fill, I can go with a white color. It doesn't really matter because we will be using this shapes as a track matte. So let's start designing our shape. So what I'm going to do is, let's just drag and create a rectangle just like so. Then go into rectangle 1, rectangle path 1, and increase the roundness so we get this really nice circulated shape. And then I can go into the main transform property, not in the transform rectangle 1, the main transform property, and rotate it by 45 degrees. All right, so now we have something like that. Let's select the rectangle 1, hit V to get back to the main selection tool, and then I can place it wherever that I want. So for the shape, I can unlink this and I can play around with the type of shape or design that I want to go for. So I'm gonna just move it a little bit just like that maybe, and maybe bring this down a bit like so. Then I can just hit Ctrl D to duplicate it, or maybe I'll just delete that and make sure the contents is selected or the shape layer is selected. Actually, I think the content should be selected, and create a new rectangle. So I can now start building up my shapes that I want. So I'm gonna drag something like that maybe. And I'm gonna do this very randomly because it is a pretty abstract design that I'm gonna go for. So there we go. There we have our rectangle 2. Then let's create one more. So I'm gonna create this one nice and big. And I can hit V and then move this wherever that I want. And then go into rectangle 3, rectangle path 1, and increase the roundness. And basically this is the same process that I'm going to keep on doing. So let's select the contents, select the rectangle, and maybe I'll create one more bigger rectangle just like so maybe. And let's go into rectangle path 1, unlink this. I think I'm going to make it a bit smaller, hit V so I can easily move this around. I can also make them a bit more closer. I think there's a bit too much gap in between them. So something like that. Okay, you can use the arrow keys as well just to be a bit more precise. And then you can play around with the length. So I'm gonna keep it something like that. There we go. And increase the roundness. So we have this nice shape as you can see. Let's create some more. Let's select the content, select the rectangle tool, and maybe I'll create one, just a smaller one like that. Hit V to get back to the selection tool and then place it into the position that you want. And again, increase the roundness. Select it. Let's create one right here. That should look good. Hit V, place it, and it's basically the same exact process. So there we go. Now what I can do is, just to add a bit more interesting look, what I can do is I can select maybe this one. Let's select any of this actually. Let's go with maybe this one. Hit Control D. So make sure the rectangle 1 is selected and hit Control D. So we have rectangle 8 and then hold Shift and drag it. So I'm going to select this 8 one again. Why? Okay, so drag it and then hold Shift. I'm going to place it somewhere around there. Then go into the rectangle parts and then just increase or decrease the size actually, just a touch. And then I can just place it into the position that I want, just to make a more interesting look. So I'm going to select maybe this one I want to select. So I can go and select maybe this one. Not actually, I'll go with maybe 6th one. Hit Control D to duplicate it and then just move it holding Shift. And then bring down the size, unlink this and bring this down just like so. And place it in the position that you want. I'm going to keep it something like that. Maybe one more I'll create right here. Hit Control D and let's make this small, really small, just like that. Okay, so it's looking pretty good at the moment. Maybe I'll drag this a bit up just like so. And now we need to animate this shape. So what I'm going to do is, it's going to be a bit tedious task to do, but I'm going to try to make it really simple. So let's go to actually 1 second, select the rectangle, go into the properties of the rectangle basically, and then go into transform rectangle, properties of that rectangle, and create a keyframe on the position property by clicking on the stopwatch. So now I need to do this in every rectangle. So I'll go to rectangle 7, transform rectangle, and create a keyframe on the position. Close that up. Let's go into this one. And it's basically creating position keyframes on every rectangle. And this is the last one. So if I just move the time indicator, you can see we have position keyframe on all the rectangles. So now let's select the layer and hit U so we can see just the keyframes. And now I can go back to 0 frame and then I can move every rectangle individually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this first of all, drag and hold Shift so it goes into the particular direction, just like that. Need to be a bit more careful while doing this. I'm going to hit Control Z. As I told you, I need to be a bit more careful. So move this up just like that so that they come out of the frame. Something like this. Let's select this one, pull them back, select this one, pull this here, maybe select this one, pull them maybe a bit more closer. This I'm going to pull that really back because I want to create some randomness between them. I don't want all the shapes to come into the frame just at once. So something like that. So now if you see, we have this really interesting animation. So we have this really nice and simple animation, but right now it looks pretty lame. So let's go ahead and make it look more interesting. So let's select all the keyframes and hit F9 to easy ease those keyframes. Go into the graph editor and you can click on this icon. And if your graph editor is not looking like this, then right click and click on the edit speed graph. Then I can select this point and drag the handle holding Shift. I'll do that again. Just like that. Select this point and I'm going to drag it a bit so we have a much more nice animation. As you can see, it looks much more interesting. And then what I can do is I'll go to around maybe 3 seconds Yep, 3 second looks good. Let's select all the let's actually select these keyframes and hit Control C, Control V, and then go to 4 second and let's drag them out from the frame. So again, I'm going to do it very randomly. So I can select the shapes, maybe this one, and I can just drag this holding Shift. Then I can drag this one, maybe move this a bit more forward in time. Just take your time and try to come up with a very interesting look. I'll go with something like that, maybe this. Okay, so let's select this keyframes, hit F9, then go into the graph editor, and this time I'm going to select this points and drag the handle to the right, just like that, and this one as well. So now we should have this really interesting looking animation. There we go, that is looking pretty good. Let's come out of the graph editor, and now we have this very nice animation. So let's put the BG in the background and turn on the media composition that we had and change the track matte of this to alpha matte. So now we have something like this. It looks pretty cool, right? Now if you don't see the track matte option, you can just hit F4 on the keyboard and that should work. Let's call this matte, and then it ends up around 4 seconds. So let's go to 4 second. Select this. Actually, let's duplicate the media again. So hit Control D to duplicate it. Put this behind, just like the below, not behind actually. Change this to no track matte. And then I can change the blending mode of this to soft light. Also, on the BG, I'm going to add a fill and give it a nice blue color. Something like that looks very nice. And let's give it a really simple opacity animation. So I'll go to somewhere around maybe 1 second and 30 frames. Select it, hit T to bring down opacity, create a keyframe, go back to 0 and set this to 0. So we have a pretty simple opacity animation. And then go to 3 seconds, create a keyframe by hitting on this diamond icon, go to 4 seconds, and let's set this to 0. Let's select all the keyframes and I'm gonna hit F9. So basically now we have this really nice and simple animation, as you can see. Let's add a little bit of scaling animation as well. So let's select both the media compositions. So I can make them red just so that you can see more properly, and hit S to bring down the scale properties. Let's go back, create a keyframe, go to around 5 seconds, and let's bring this up to 110. So we have a little bit of scaling animation as well. You can see, pretty cool. And now what I can do is let's go to 5 seconds. Let's actually go to 4 seconds, not 5 seconds. Select the matte layer and the 2 media composition. Hold Alt and close square bracket to cut this up. Hit Control D to duplicate it, and let's bring them on the top. Also, I can change the colors so that you guys can see it more properly what I'm doing here. And let's select these 3 layers, hold Shift and just drag them so that they snap in right here. And now what I can do is let's select the media composition, that is this one's, hold Alt and drag the media 2. So it's going to replace the media 1 with media 2, and now we have this really cool animation, as you can see. So this way I can add more and more images into my story. Now I want this to start appearing when this shape starts getting out of the frame. So I can just pull them a bit closer, and there we have it. Now one more cool thing that I can do is select this, create a keyframe on the fill color, go right here, and let's change the color to a nice orange color, or maybe red color looks good. A bit orangish. There we go. A little bit, maybe a bit darker tone. Yep, that looks good. So basically now we have this color changing animation as well with the shapes flowing around. So this looks very, very cool. Same way you can add more and more slides using the same technique. So that was our main animation. Now let's go ahead and add some more detail to our design. So hit Ctrl Shift H to hide the control layers, and I'll set this to full so you can see it more properly. Let's create a new adjustment layer pretty quick, and I'm going to call this CC. Let's add a bit sharpen to this, make it maybe 25, and also I'm going to add a CC for this, actually a curves for this, not CC. Let's pull this and pull this up just to make the colors pop out a bit. You can see, really cool. Okay, and then what I can do is select the matte shapes that we have, hit Ctrl D to duplicate it. Let's put this below this media one, and then I'm gonna add a drop shadow to this. Let's increase the distance. I'm not able to see anything. Oh, I need to put it above the media so we can see it. Also turn that on. So there we go. Let's rotate it and place it into the position that we want. So something like that looks good. Maybe bring down the opacity a bit and increase the feather. So something like that looks pretty nice. Same with this one as well. Actually, I can just use the same one. So I can hit Ctrl D, place it right here, and that should work. Place it above the media comp, and yep, there we go. We have nice drop shadow just to create a bit more depth. Now let's go ahead and add some text to this. So select the text tool, and I'm going to type in future is near. Of course it's lame, but you can type in anything that you want, you know, something like check out my new video, something like that, I don't know. But let's increase the size, and for the font I'll go with a Gotham Ultra. You can go with absolutely any font that you like and keep it really nice and big. Align it. Okay, and let's create a very simple animation for this. So I'm going to go into the text properties, and in the animate I can add an opacity, bring this down to 0, go to range selector, and I can animate this just like so, as you can see. So I'll go to around 2 seconds maybe. Create a keyframe, actually at 0 create a keyframe on the end property, go to 1 second and set this to 100. So if I want I can just leave it like that. I'll set this to auto actually. So if I want I can just leave it like that, but what I need to do is, or what I am going to do is turn on the randomness so we have a much more interesting look. As you can see, very cool. Yep, that is looking pretty good. And one more thing that I need to do is on the mats that we are using in behind, you can see we can get a bit edges, like white edges in the background. So you can add let's add a simple choke actually, and I'll keep it at maybe 0.5, very minimal. So as you can see the difference, hit Ctrl C and put it on this one as well. All right, so future is near. Let's add our secondary text. So I can just duplicate this, hit Ctrl D, put this on the top. Now for this one I'm going to go with chunk 5, and I'll provide all the links in the description to the font that I'm using. Also the project file is absolutely free to download, so you can download that as well. And I'm going to type in hashtag modern. Make this a bit smaller. I'll put it right here. All right, hit Ctrl D, put this one right here, and I'm going to call this creative. So now we have this nice text animation. So let's actually see our complete animation so far. And I think it came out really nice. Yep, that is actually looking very nice, minimal but stylish, of course. You can see it looks very nice. So now you can impress your friends by creating this amazing stories, and they're gonna ask you how the hell you created that. And then you can just tell them to subscribe to Dope Motion so they can create it as well. And also, if you want me to create more design on Instagram story animations, so do let me know in the comment section below, and I will love to create more for you guys. Also, the last thing that I want to do is add a drop shadow to the text as well. So I'll just increase the distance, rotate it a bit, and increase the softness. It's nice. You can see before and after, so it stands out from the background. And I think, yeah, that is a wrap for today, guys. So yeah, that is a wrap for today, guys. Also, by the time you're making the stories, also make sure to follow me on Instagram at @dope.motions. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, take care. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to stay raw, stay creative.